What's up guys, JayzTwoCents here, and it's time to start the official Skunkworks building vlog. You know how you know it's time? My hair is jacked up and I haven't shaved, and I just realized that every single vlog I've ever done for Skunkworks in the history has included messed up hair and terrible unshaven face. Maybe that's just because I get so stressed out when I'm getting ready to do this, I just stop shaving. Whatevs. With its specifically tuned copper base and maintenance-free plug-and-play operation, the EVGA 980 Ti Hybrid offers ultra-fast gaming performance at the lowest temperatures possible. Click the link in the description for more details. So even though Gigabyte says they pre-tested this, I had to pre-test it myself, and this is going to freak some people out. I actually have my 5820K in here. Technically, I'll go into that for a second, but there's no fluid in there. You can see the tubes are open, and this freaks people out because look what I'm about to do. I'm about to be like, bam, no coolant, and I'm turning on this thing. We're doing a boot test, obviously, to make sure things are going to work. We want to make sure we get some sort of a video signal here. X99 takes extraordinarily long to turn on. Let's see what happens now. Oh, we got a blue light. We got a blue light and a little cursor thingy. Should go to BIOS. Bam! Yeah, no coolant, no nothing in there, and it works just fine. You can do it for you could do that for like a few seconds like I just did to make sure things work. But what's funny is I did this already before the video. I touched the back of the socket thinking maybe it was going to be really hot because, you know, if you did this on like a 4790K or 4770K, it would have thermal shut down in the time that took. But no, it's all still cold. So amazing. That block with the epoxy that's used on the Enthusiast chipset, like the 5820K that's in there right now, actually has enough heat transfer to where you can turn on the system. But here's the other thing that I find amazing is I thought that chip was bad. I thought that chip was bad because it wouldn't boot in my MSI motherboard. But it turned out the MSI motherboard was bad, and it wouldn't boot with any of the other, it would only boot with one RAM stick in the MSI board. And I thought maybe the memory controller inside the CPU went bad, because if I put 2, 3, or 4 in there, it wouldn't boot, only if I had one. But we just booted right now with 32 gigs of RAM and all 4 channels occupied. So that means I have another working X99 CPU. Yes! Who knows what I'm going to do with that. But obviously I'm not going to leave the 5820K in there. That was just for the test boot. Everything is still assembled in here. So what we're going to do today, we're going to get this guy taken apart, we're going to get it drained. We are going to take the blocks out of there. I'm going to open up one of them and inspect and see if it was getting clogged, which I think might have been happening because my GPU temps were getting hotter and hotter and hotter as the fluid was turning more into like a wheat ale color of beer. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I've got to take this thing back apart now, get the block off of here, because with these rigid tubes, it's actually a little bit of work involved to get the block off, and then get my 5960X in there. But anyway, it works! Yes! It's another rainy day here in Southern California. We've already had more rain in the last month than we've had in like the last year. That's because of that there in El Nino. You can see Nizzy the Nismo. So sad and wet in the rain. It's near impossible to drive this car in the rain. Many people will be like, yeah, it's fun to drive in the rain. You can get all sideways and stuff. Yeah, that's true, but I also don't want to end up as one of those idiots on YouTube who curbs their car because I haven't necessarily become the best drifter in the world. But yeah, this is kind of neat. This is called water. You can thank that there El Nino for the weather, and I think that's why it's also been so hot down in Australia, because as the weather heats up in the Pacific Ocean and the water heats up, it gets hotter down south. So, sorry to all you down under. And that's what she looks like without the lights on in there. That's just how nasty this is. And you know, a lot of people sent me pictures and links on forums showing me how so many people have had this happen to their Pastel loops. And you can see how much of it's like falling out. See, you can like see through that. You're not supposed to be able to see through that, but even the main loop changed a little bit of color too. It just has to do with the reaction of some of the metals, and if you guys remember when I did this build, it was the same color as the fan rings. It just has to do with reaction to the metals and temperatures and stuff, and I'm not sold on the Pastel anymore. I won't use it, I won't recommend it, and I think just regular water-based and premixed coolants are all you need. Enough of this Pastel Enough of this nano fluid stuff. Anyway, when it comes to draining the loop, all I do is take off the top. Well, first I screw in this tube here into my valve. And you can see, right now I've already drained it. I kind of forgot to hit record. Oops. Anyway, look how nasty that is. But then I have this just going into a bowl there. Take off one of the top ports, because remember, you have to let air in for the fluid to get out. You have to refill this volume with something. You can't create a vacuum in there. And then you turn the valve. This is closed. This is open. And then literally everything from the loop just runs out into here. Look at this. Look how gross this is. This is how it more looks to my eye right there. This very, very shitty brown color. And this was the loop that looked better. Wait till you see what this is gonna look like when it comes out. This is why I'm done with this nano fluid. I'm done with you. So done with you. I've read some comments too about people saying, wow, your system is dustier than I thought it would be. This is the exhaust fans for the 280 that's on the back side of Skunkworks, if you couldn't tell. Guys, I live in the desert. Okay, there's no dust filters on Case Labs cases. I've never retrofitted any to them. And this is just what you deal with. And I don't sit here and clean my system constantly. I keep the front as clean as I can, but even the intake fans on the front are pretty dirty. And every time I take the system apart, I take the opportunity to try and clean up, some of that dust. But this is what you deal with PCs. And if anyone's going to say their system isn't dusty either, then you're just a liar. You're just a flat-out liar. Okay, so this is another reason why I'm done with the pastels and why I think my blocks are clogging for the CPU. Do you see that crud? Every time I've ever used Pastel and drained the loop and drained the system, I've seen this stuff build up on the O-rings and inside the fittings. So if it's building up in these free flow areas, what on earth is it doing inside the nice tight blocks in there where you have small micro channels to go through? When the system's done and put back together, I'll tear these, at least one of them apart and take a look. Well, I'll tear them all apart and need to clean them. But yeah, that's why I got new blocks, because this is what you get. So if you're using Pastel, I don't want to scare you, but this is probably happening inside your loop. Okay, so this is where we're at. Some more of the fluid that was hiding, in the radiators and stuff. You never get it all out. It's random stuff. So the system's completely torn down. Got to clean the radiators, of course. Got to paint the fan rings. I need to flush these radiators out. I don't want any of this PET or this nano stuff. Got to clean out the pump tops because it's got all that crud in there from the nano fluids, which is absolutely terrible. It's just getting worse and worse. And this has only been in here since, man, when did I drain and fill my loop last? It was just this summer, only a few months, and this is what it looks like. Absolutely terrible. I've also got to clean out the reservoirs, because they've got a lot of this crap stuck to it down in there. You can kind of see it's just a nasty situation all around. So that's what's next. That's what we do next. We clean. Clean. So we don't want to put new fluid in there and get it contaminated with this crud. Such crap. I've already started cleaning out some of that. But I mean, you can see just the amount of crud that has been building up on the O-rings and stuff. If it will focus. It's just not good. Whatever. It's not focusing. I don't care. I shouldn't have to do too many more bends. We're going to get the motherboard in here soon, transfer over the CPU and get the block back on. And this isn't a lot of work. I guess it kind of looks like a lot of work, but it's really not. It only took me about 45 minutes to tear this down and about another hour and a half to fight with people on Twitter. But anyway, I'm going to keep going now. See how far we can get today. It is 2 days before Christmas, so we'll see what we can get done. Alright, so I cleaned out the reservoirs, I cleaned the radiators. They're actually in my dish rack in the sink drying. I still have to dust up down there. But you see the system is pretty much nearly completely gutted. I just didn't take out the pumps because they're wired in through the back wall and I couldn't actually get those out. Yeah, forethought, right? Anyway, I might have put some sort of a junction block or a Molex or something back there to actually be able to unplug them. Hindsight. Anyway, then I saw this powdery substance on the table and I thought, well, geez, I haven't done cocaine in a while. That's a joke, guys. It's a joke. And I'm going, what is this powdery stuff? It turns out that white gunk I was showing you that was building up on here, when it dries, it actually turns very, very thick and powdery. Watch, I'll show you this if I can actually get the camera to focus here. I can see that? So these are presumably the nanoparticles, I think. I mean, it looks nice, but it's just not worth the hassle as far as I'm concerned. Other thing you want to keep in mind too is, You definitely are not going to want to reuse any of the old tubing. This is the soft tubing I had down on the bottom. I'm going to be putting new Tygon tubing down in there. The reason why I don't do hard tubing down here is I have a radiator on this side and a radiator on this side, and there's no way for me to get my hand in there and connect the two together. Not to mention I have a pipe that goes from there to down into the radiator. I mean, I could try it, but it just would be a much bigger hassle than it's worth. And I've run the soft tubing in the past with acrylic or PETG and not had any problems. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm also changing out this plate on the front here for a vented one, because this gets really, really hot down here when I'm gaming because of the 3 Titan X's. So I'll be putting a vent in there to help with airflow. Thought about putting an intake fan on here too to get more cool air in here so that the 280 isn't just sucking in hot air from the 560. Even though it is hot air, it's still going to be providing a cooling benefit. But when the radiator's right here, there's no more room for a fan mount. So that's kind of sucky. So this is the front vent, a special front vent here that K-Slab's made for me, but unfortunately it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to use it. The reason for that is this little 5 1/4 sized one is being blocked by the mid plate, and I'm not taking that mid plate out in order to just get this front thing on. I kind of want it on there for that extra ventilation, but at the same time, I don't want to disassemble this whole case and try and finagle this thing out. I've done it before. It's not that hard. I just don't want to, I really don't want to go through all that. Anyway, I guess I'll go ahead and skip that piece for now. That's unfortunate. I thought I could get this out without having to take the mid plate out, but that's not possible at all. Damn it. Well, it might not look any different, but I just swapped out the 5960X in there, took the 5820 out of there, and now we're all ready to go. Yes. The thing that sucks with it raining is I painted the fan rings, but obviously it's going to take forever to dry. So here's my 3 Titan X's right there. Time to take those blocks off, put the nickel-plated plexi fronts on there, as well as the nickel-plated crystal link fittings on there, so everything is nice and blingy. I went with the nickel plating like this because I think I've always liked the way orange and nickel plating looks. I think it's going to look real good with a nice reflection on there. It's going to help light bounce around a bit. And since we were forced to go with the nickel plexi blocks for the Champion board because it's the only color they make right now, I think it's a pretty good accent. Some folks didn't like it. I do. That's most important, and I think it looks great on there. So the fan rings, like I said, they're drying. Might have to actually warm up the oven to about 100 and maybe 150 degrees. Stick them in there and let them kind of cure a little bit. You can do that actually to keep the temperature low enough so they don't melt. But yeah, what it's time to do now is get those blocks on there, and then we can get the graphics cards mounted up here. And that's the nice thing about the K-Slabs case is, with the removable tray, and you can work on it outside of the case while the case is somewhere else in the room taking up all the space. Alright, so there's the 3 graphics cards sitting in there. Got all the blocks swapped out. I still think it would have been really neat if I went with nickel-plated back plates. I don't know. I mean, it would have created more light reflection in there. It would have also added to the orange. You could have probably seen the actual fluid back reflecting off the back plate from the block above. Because remember, you're not going to really see it from this angle. You're going to see it more from that angle. I don't think it looks too bad, though. Not a whole lot left to do, really. It's time to get the fittings put in here, the Bits Power multi-links in between here with the chrome fittings, change out all the chrome fittings on the radiators and stuff, and start putting it all back together and put the wiring in. Don't think I'm going to get it done tonight. We're heading to Disneyland tomorrow with the family. My sister and her family's back in town, so I'm taking everyone to Disneyland, and I don't think this is going to get done until after Christmas. Oh well. I don't know, we'll see how much farther I get tonight, but right now it's time to take a break and get some food. So here's what the radiators look like. This was the dirty side of all the radiators, and as you can see, they come clean pretty nicely. I literally just run them under the sink with like a pressure nozzle, and then I just let them dry, or I'll set them on top of a fan, let air blow through them to dry them off. Still a little bit of water in them. I'm not going to be powering up the system tonight, so I'm not too worried about it. But yep, radiators are all nice and clean. Here are the fans over here. Fans are all nice and clean. Same thing, I just use this spray bottle. I literally will spritz the fan and then use a microfiber to wipe them all down so all of the dust and stuff is gone. I mean, it's like spring cleaning at the same time. Alright, this is where I'm stopping. I got quite a bit done today, but not as far as I wanted to. I just put the 24 pin in there so that, whoa, kind of wobbly there, just so that way I can kind of see how the color looks. I've heard some folks complain like, ew, those combs look bad, blah, blah, blah. Remember guys, combs are just about training the cables, not necessarily leaving them in place full time. Eventually I'll be able to move those combs and then the cables won't show, or the combs won't show at all, but the cable will be nice and trained. Those cables were courtesy of Lutro Customs. Thank you for that. You can see I painted the fan rings. They're far from perfect though. There's some chips on some of them I've got to touch up. That's due to the rain really messing up my painting schedule today. Got all the chrome fittings on there. As you can see, I call them chrome. They're actually nickel plated. I got the nickel plated fittings on there. That tube and the GPU tubes are unchanged, but I do have to do a new tube that goes from CPU pump output into that guy right there. That's the inlet for the chipset block. Then it goes to the CPU, then it goes out of the CPU into the VRM, and then out of there into that fitting inside the radiator. So I have to do those two bends, and then we'll be good. Some folks have asked me about the input or the inlet going into the chipset, and then the CPU, and then the VRM, and why the CPU isn't first. Because for the 1000th time, it doesn't matter what order you put it in. The loop is going to pretty much stabilize the temperature all the way across. You're going to have very little temperature difference between the inlet of the radiator and the outlet of the radiator. The radiator is going to keep the temperature as a whole fairly stabilized. This isn't like a car where you have very hot temperature going into the radiator and much, much cooler temperature coming out of it, and also being regulated by a thermostat. This is not a car. It's not the same physics because we are not dealing with those extreme temperatures. So that's not going to matter. It's the same reason why I have no problems running parallel for my 3 graphics cards. So it's never been a problem. But you can see it's not as much orange as some people were afraid there was going to be. You can see the orange in the front right there, and then these are the radiators right there. That's the 280 and the 560. I think it's going to be just enough, and once I get the hue lighting in there, I'll be able to adjust the white balance inside there if I want to do white light, but not that hyper white like you get with white LEDs. I can actually make it more of a warm light and make the color much more warm inside the case, which I think will make everything look a lot better with the orange. And then of course we're going to have the orange fluid up in there, which is going to round it all out. So I think it's going to look really good. But I'm not going to get to finish it until like Friday or Saturday. Probably not Friday since it's Christmas. I probably won't get to touch this again until Saturday, which kind of stinks. But that's it for today. I'm exhausted. I've spent about 11 and a half hours on this today. It may not look like it, but there was lots of cleaning. I'm very anal about little things. You guys know that. I'm very anal with my systems. But I want everything to be right because I don't want to keep taking this thing apart. I would rather be playing games and, let's face it, making YouTube videos on it than just constantly taking it apart and fighting the color changing fluids. And then if the fluid changes color again on me with this X1 or XT1 fluid, then I'm just gonna be pissed, and I'm probably gonna change the whole damn thing out or take out some graphics cards or something. I don't know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this vlog. I know there's been a lot of these. You guys seem to love these. It does make things take a lot longer when I have to keep stopping and pausing and doing video and talking about things. But it's fun too. It gives me some easy content to create while I'm doing other things. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a Merry Christmas if you guys celebrate Christmas. And if not, then have a Merry whatever it is you celebrate. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.